All right. How is everybody doing today? It's another tough day, guys. I'm not gonna front with you. Very tough day. Super frustrating to say the least. But what I am happy about right now, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, what I'm happy about is I'm able to stream for you guys and really talk some NBA news and rumors. Hope you guys are enjoying your day. If you're in the Seattle area or anywhere in the Midwest and East Coast, no matter where you're at, just be ready for this Arctic storm. It's already hit the Seattle area, the Northwest, very hard. Every road, especially in the neighborhoods, are completely ice. It's completely sheets of ice, and so I just want to make sure everybody is staying safe and careful out there. If you don't have to do any traveling, I recommend not driving your car in the Seattle area. It's definitely not a good case. But hopefully you guys are, again, hopefully everyone's doing okay. Hopefully everyone is enjoying their afternoon. And we're going to get started with a little bit of live streaming here. Again, I hope everybody is having a good day so far. I know for some of us, it's unfortunate. You know, as a coach, you would love to start coaching your guys and start getting the rust off, because we've had a couple days off now. And so that's a little frustrating and from that perspective, but nevertheless, I hope you guys are enjoying the rest of your day. So today, the big things we want to talk about are, of course, this Anthony Davis news that came out. Foot injury, going to be out indefinitely. This is going to be a huge loss for the Lakers, and we'll talk more about the implications of that, what's going to go on there. We're also going to look at some other trade rumors that's been going on. Everybody's expecting that Trae Young is going to leave. That's kind of like the expectation that I've been hearing. Well, maybe not been hearing as like, I got news sources, but more so I've been hearing it around the NBA, especially with Real GM, kind of giving me the news and rumors. Again, you know, we're going to take all this stuff with a grain of salt. And we also got John Collins getting a lot of interest from a lot of these teams. So we're going to take a look at all that stuff. And we're going to continue some Bulls saga news. DeMar DeRozan's looking to move out of the Windy City. So we'll talk about all of that and so much more. But before we do any of that, hopefully you guys are having a great day. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, the more likes, the more subscribers, the more this channel can grow and develop into something special. So I hope you guys enjoy your time with me today. And let's get right into the news and rumors. And of course, we are going to start off with probably the most disappointing news. And I think anybody that is a hater of this team or anybody that does not like the Lakers, you probably saw this from a mile away. Anthony Davis is hurt again, and the Lakers are looking to make a smaller trade following the Anthony Davis injury. The article goes on to say that the Lakers are likely to make a smaller deal that would include involving more of their first-round picks following the Anthony Davis injury. Sources have told Jovan Buha of The Athletic. Davis will at least miss a month due to a right foot injury. That news has obviously come out. It's going to be indefinitely, so we'll find out what's going on there. The likely trade package would include some combination of Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, and one of their first-round picks, likely with the protection. The Lakers are looking for a 3-and-D wing or combo forward to play next to LeBron James and Davis, though they would not believe that there's a player out there that would put their team in immediate contention. Some names to watch, and this is, of course, from Buha, is Jay Crowder, Eric Gordon, Alec Burks, PJ Washington, and Kelly Oubre Jr., sources say. Now, before the injury, I think everybody was looking at the Lakers to see what moves they were going to make. I think one of the clear and obvious moves was trying to go for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. Now, there's rumor that Miles Turner is looking to do a contract extension with the Indiana Pacers, so that could put all this null and void. And that's the toughest part if you're a Lakers fan. And anyone that has kind of followed and cared about LeBron James's career, it's tough to watch a great athlete, one of the all-time greats in the game, kind of get demoralized and diminished by what's going on in the Lakers organization. I think when I look at everything and I see the Lakers where they're at currently, Rob Pelinka needs to answer a lot of questions. Because for the most part, I feel like the players have done their part. We knew that trading Russell Westbrook was going to be a madman's mission. Like there was hardly any way to trade him. He's actually played really well these last couple of games before he got hurt. And he's kind of accepted his role as kind of coming off the bench and even kind of playing less minutes than he normally would like to. And when I really look at that and I stop to really analyze it, I think teams are not going to trade with the Lakers is because they don't like LeBron James. And two, I just think Rob Pelinka is not a great GM. I think when I look back to that team that won the championship, I think most of that had to do with a combination of Magic and Rob at that point, but also kind of LeBron James and Anthony Davis that was revitalized, rejuvenated, and felt like he could really take on the world. And you clearly see that one thing that we have to kind of monitor now when it comes to Anthony Davis, I think what's hard for me to understand about Anthony Davis at times is like he'll have this stretch, right? There'll be MVP expectations, gets hurt. This year, there was no real MVP expectations, and as soon as he gets into that MVP expectations again, he gets hurt. And it's unfortunate because I think of the talent level that Anthony Davis has and who he is as a person, I know this guy can be an MVP in this league. The problem is, in order to be an MVP in this league, it's one thing you have to do, and it's a skill that a lot of people, guys like LeBron James have, and that's consistency and longevity. The problem with Anthony Davis is that he has neither of those, and the unfortunate part is it's because of the injuries that just kind of randomly happen. It's not something where Anthony Davis isn't working out. It's not something where Anthony Davis isn't taking care of his body. It's just his body. That's just the way his body operates. It's the way his body kind of reacts to the work and stress of not only being a Los Angeles Laker, but being second fiddle to LeBron James. When we all know that Anthony Davis probably should be the first option. I think that he was starting to emerge as that, obviously with the MVP talk earlier last couple weeks. But that's clearly gone down the drain with the fact that we're now seeing Anthony Davis currently at this moment just not able to really do anything. What disappoints me a lot about the injury to Anthony Davis is that he can't really be successful where he's at right now. Like, the Lakers have not put the pieces and have not garnered the assets needed to surround Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Because I think what happened is, and it always happens with Anthony Davis, is that as soon as you put a lot of the load on him, meaning that you're putting a lot of the points, the rebounding, the block shots, like all that stuff combined and doing both sides, it's tough. It's tough to do any of that stuff. And the problem with the Lakers currently is I believe they are one of the worst shooting teams in the NBA. I can double check that in a little bit. But it's a disappointing thing to see because we all know what Anthony Davis can be. We all know what LeBron James can be. But without the right pieces around him, without the role players, it's hard for me to really think and say, yes, this person is going to do such a great job. This person is going to really help out. Because it's unfortunate to see Anthony Davis have to take on the load, responsibility, all for this to just kind of be null and void, and for him to be hurt, and then LeBron James is on his own again. And we know that LeBron James at age 38 is not going to be able to carry the load like he once did when he was 25 or even 28 or even in his early 30s. Like, that's just not LeBron James at this current point in his career. And so what's disappointing to me more so than anything else is looking at the Lakers, looking at their roster and trying to figure out, why does it look so ugly? Why did the Lakers let it get so bad at this point? Because I think you can get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner back then when he was healthy and everything like that. But the Lakers decided they're going to stay strong. They're going to stay strong in terms of like they're going to stay together. They're not going to break this team apart. And look where it got them. It got them to a point where now you're relying on guys like Patrick Beverley, who has not really played the best and is probably... It's tough to say because I love his energy, I love his tenacity, but he's just not the right fit for the Lakers at this current point. Like, he would be a great fit if they had 3-and-D guys all around Patrick Beverley. The moment you start asking Patrick Beverley to take more shots, take more point guard responsibilities, is when your team loses. Because I think Patrick Beverley has a special skill set, and that special skill set can't be utilized, it can't be flourished until they have the pieces around him to do that. And so with that being said, I think you're looking at this Lakers team and you're looking a little fishy about it. I mean, Lonnie Walker is doing okay, but, Kendrick Nunn, we have yet to see him really fulfill that role that he was in Miami. Everyone was excited about him last year. Didn't live up to the expectations this year. And some of the pieces that they're trying to get, Jay Crowder, I'm not a really big fan of. I think he quits on his teams all the time, and really the playoffs doesn't show up. Eric Gordon, I think, could be a very interesting piece. I'd be curious to see what they do with him. Alec Burks, I think, would be an okay piece. I think he would also be someone that could potentially help out the Lakers. PJ Washington and Kelly Oubre Jr. Maybe Kelly Oubre Jr., but these are players that are not going to change the Lakers organization or even change the way that this franchise moves about. This is a move, to be honest with you guys, that should concern you if you're a Lakers fan, because really, this Lakers team should be way better than what it is. This Lakers team should be dominating. This Lakers team should be battling it out for the top seed, and they're currently not doing that at this current moment. And so for me, as I continue to monitor and look at the situation as it pertains to the Lakers at this current point, I'm worried that the Lakers are officially finished as of right now, until Anthony Davis comes back, because without Anthony Davis, and we have no idea how long, it's a stress fracture in his foot. Those could take a long time. Those could take, a millennium. Not really a millennium, but it feels like a millennium, right? Because if you're a Lakers fan or someone that, wants to see AD out on the court, it's going to take him forever to get back on the court, and then he's got to get back into shape and things like that. I mean, it's just a disappointing sight to see if I'm really looking at everything right now. And so, hang on one sec. I got this car that's kind of doing a weird thing over here. I'm not sure what it's trying to do. Anyway, sorry about that. Sorry, my car unfortunately is stuck in the ice. Luckily, I was able to get into my driveway, but with people driving, you never know. Anyway, back to the Lakers point. Sorry, I got a little distracted. I think without Anthony Davis, without those pieces that they should have gotten, the Lakers right now are just in limbo. And even with Anthony Davis healthy, it's no guarantee that they're going to win the championship. It's no guarantee that the Lakers are going to even do anything this season without surrounding the 3-and-D guys, and even, I think, one more superstar. As much as I love Westbrook, at this current point, Westbrook, it's finito. It's done. I think that he's kind of what he is at this point, is like a guy that can be a spark plug off the bench. Maybe even if you start him, but he just can't play the minutes that he once did. He's got to play like maybe 28 to 30 minutes a game and kind of give you that spark. Maybe could be that, kind of facilitating backup guard, more of a scoring guard, because that's more of his thing. I think that would be a much better fit for him. But yeah, this is just a disappointing sight to see. So I hope the Lakers can kind of figure out what they need to do. Again, Anthony Davis out indefinitely with a stress fracture in his foot. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to see what the Lakers do from here on out, because at the end of the day, everybody's looking at LeBron James. Everybody's looking at the Lakers and wondering, what is Jeanie Buss really doing? How are we going to get better? And really, I think all eyes need to be on Rob Pelinka, and he's on fraud watch to me. He's probably one of the biggest frauds in the NBA right now. Sorry to steal that from my guy Hugh Wizzy. Shout out to Hugh. But it's true. Like, he is on fraud watch. Like, this dude is a complete fraud. Because at the end of the day, what moves has Rob Pelinka made? How many moves has Rob Pelinka made to make this team even contend for a championship in the last couple of years? Like, they got rid of all the assets that they had that year they won the championship. They didn't really re-sign anybody. They didn't get JaVale McGee back. They didn't get Dwight Howard back. And again, they have so many other players. KCP was another key piece for them. Guys that they probably should have kept. Kuzma, they probably should have kept. But at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. Again, Kyle Kuzma wanted to come back to LA. He was hoping for that trade to come through, and maybe it might at some point. But as of right now, there is no move for the LA Lakers to bring back Kyle Kuzma. And the Lakers right now have to eat a little bit of crow and kind of figure out what is their next move as they look forward to these last couple months, or maybe these next couple months without Anthony Davis in their lineup. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think of this Anthony Davis news? Are you guys concerned? If you're a Lakers fan, is this the end? Is this finito? Or do you guys think that the Lakers have another big move in them by trading away those unprotected 2027 and 2029 first-round picks? Maybe there's some protections on it. Who knows? But all I know is the Lakers are finished as of right now. Again, if Anthony Davis comes back, I think it changes the whole conversation. But at the end of the day, they really need him to come back so they can do some damage in the West. So again, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you make of the LA Lakers moving forward? Alrighty, let's move on to a couple more stories. I want to move on to this one because I think this one is a very interesting story, and that is, of course, Trae Young could be the next NBA superstar to seek a trade. Rival executives believe that Trae Young could be on the move and the next superstar to request a trade if the Atlanta Hawks do not show progress in the playoffs. Young can become a free agent in 26. The Hawks just won one game in the last season's playoffs after reaching the Eastern Conference Finals in 2021. Atlanta responded in the offseason by trading for DeJounte Murray. We obviously know that Landry Fields replaced Travis Schlenke as the lead decision-maker for the Atlanta Hawks front office this season. Fields and Young met routinely to have a great relationship, and we know that Young is represented by Clutch Sports. This is what I'm concerned about if you are the Atlanta Hawks, because I felt like the culture was there for them. They definitely have built a culture around guys like Trae Young, guys like John Collins, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Clint Capella, DeAndre Hunter. I felt like this, and Kevin Huerter, and to be honest with you, I liked that team. I did like that team. I thought that team was great, and I thought that team can make a lot of damage moving forward in the playoffs. The problem is that I think Trae Young, as much as I love the guy, as much as I was a big believer in him, and I still am a big believer in his talent and ability, the leadership, and really to me, the biggest issue with Trae Young at this current point is this idea that he can do it on his own, this idea that he needs to have the ball all the time in his hands, this idea that he is the only one and true savior for Atlanta is the biggest problem that's holding back the Hawks right now. I think Trae Young needs to look in the mirror and realize what situation he has there in Atlanta and realize how blessed and lucky he is. Think about the teams out there in the East and the West right now. You think of teams like the Chicago Bulls, they're a dumpster fire. The San Antonio Spurs, as much as they have young talent and are still growing and developing, they're not very good. The Utah Jazz is starting to falter off a little bit, but they have some key nice pieces there. The Wizards are still like in this purgatory of, are they going to tank? Are they still going to be good? But they're kind of stayed mediocre. And that's something that I think Trae Young has not been accustomed to is when you start, when you start playing better, when you start getting those accolades, the problem I see here is that I feel like the power is going into Trae Young's head. And as much as I love him, and I think that he's one of the best players in that draft class along with Luka Doncic, his selfishness and his desire to not be the best player on the team, his desire to be the best player on the team, always have the ball in his hands, is hurting this organization and franchise. This team should definitely be comfortably in 4th or 5th place, but I think right now they're in the play-in game or they're 7th or 8th. I can't remember where they're at. And I'll look at the NBA standings right now. And when we look at the standings for the East right here, and I'll show you guys, they're 8th place. They are 500, and they lost the other night to the Chicago Bulls. This team is way better than the Chicago Bulls. This team is way better than the Raptors, way better than the Pacers. And to be honest with you guys, I think they're way better than the Heat. But what they've shown time and time again this last season is that they continuously lose games that they should win. And I think Trae Young has to take some responsibility. As much as Trae Young is scoring the ball and as much as the Hawks are playing some okay basketball, there needs to be some ownership as to why they're not playing very well. Today, they're going to be playing the Pistons. They definitely need to win this game to really, really step up in that sense. Let me see if I can find kind of some stats really quick for you guys. Let me see here if I can just kind of find... Let's see here, and let's see if we can go to Sports Reference, if I can find it. Let's go to this Atlanta Hawks team. And really, to me, I think let's look at Trae Young. I mean, we've looked at him before. This is kind of like the biggest thing here. Yes, Trae Young is scoring 27 points a game. Yes, Trae Young is, I would say, shooting 87% from the line. He's averaging 9.8 assists. This is probably one of his best times, I would say. But at the same time, The disappointing part about the Atlanta Hawks at this current moment um, is the fact that when I look at this team, when I look at this organization, what I'm disappointed in the most out of anything for the Atlanta Hawks, for him, it's just the field goal percentage. I mean, 41% from the field, like that's almost rookie-esque numbers that he's putting up right now. And that's definitely not what you want to see from your superstar, all-star captain and Trae Young. Just kind of putting up really mediocre numbers in that category. I mean, 41% is pretty bad. And this is probably one of his worst shooting from the three-point land as well. I mean, shooting 30%. Like, again, what I love about Trae Young is that he is not relying on the three and doesn't need the three to be the most effective player. What I think makes him more effective, in my opinion, guys, is the fact that he really moves the ball, and he's been doing that. But the problem is that he has taken more shots this year than he has last year, and even the last couple years. The Hawks were successful in that 21 season when he took less than 20 shots, averaging less than 20 shots. Obviously, he'll take 20 shots a game, one of these nights. But what's disappointing is that I continuously see Trae Young going in the wrong direction, which is sad to me as someone that loves Trae Young, as someone that appreciates Trae Young, and really someone that I think when I look at a guy like Trae Young, like he really should be flourishing with the Atlanta Hawks. The one thing that we can say about the Atlanta Hawks at this current moment is the fact that they haven't really had a culture in forever. Like when we think about the Hawks culture, we really think about teams that are bandwagons, right? Fans that go to different organizations and cheer them on. So, for example, they'll be most likely be Lakers fans or fans of other teams. And to me, when I see that and when that's kind of the case for the Atlanta Hawks, I get disappointed because I think the Atlanta Hawks have a great. I love the city. I mean, I would love to visit more often. I think that obviously I've been there a couple times, but I would love to just feel the environment, and I've enjoyed it. Like it wasn't an environment where I was like, no. Like this is an environment that one can support a basketball team, can support a football team, but these teams need to be invested in the organization and fan base. And I just feel like that's kind of the issue right now is that if Trae Young does get traded, if they believe that he's going to move on and be on a different team, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And some of the teams and organizations I talked about earlier, obviously are teams that are struggling right now and are teams that really shouldn't be, we should be looking at what we could get Trae Young to be as a player. And that's the disappointing part is because I believe in Trae Young's ability. I think he's a really good player, but he continuously disappoints in moments where he should be uplifting teammates, should be uplifting. I mean, I think back to that news segment where we talked about him and John Collins getting into it during a film session. Like that to me is a concern. Like thinking about it as a front office person, as a GM, is like those little stories that we think about years ago are now starting to come back and say, okay, Trae Young might have this little ego about him. And again, I don't think it's because he's a bad dude. I just think there might be some yes men in his camp. I hope that he kind of gets rid of those yes men. But really, when I think about it, if you are a star athlete, you had an all-star season last season. People were claiming that you should be an all-star. He wasn't an all-star. But the issue and the conversation that we need to have is that Trae Young is now has this power hungry mode that we need to start having a conversation about. Like, is he about winning, or is he about his brand? Is he about the things that he really shouldn't be about? And that's going to be the biggest question mark for me moving forward is, what is Trae Young about? Is he about that action? Like, is he about building a culture with his team? Is he about building the Atlanta Hawks and really having the Atlanta culture be cultivated and normalized in situations where he can thrive and succeed? Or is he really just about himself, get his bread, get his money, move on to the next team and do the same thing? I don't want him to fall in the lines of players that just want the money and that's all they care about. I want him to be about those championships. I think he could be a championship point guard on his team. But we all know that all assists are not created equally. We know that Trae Young hunts those things down. I would just love for him to really focus on building off of more passes, more off-ball stuff, and then he can get on the ball and start moving it around and start, shooting at a better clip. Because I think the problem is when you take 21 shots, it's more opportunities for you to miss, and more likely than not, you're gonna miss. And clearly, Trae Young has been missing this last couple of last 29 games. So we'll see what happens, man. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of Trae Young and what's been going on in Atlanta? I hope they fix it soon. I hope that they can really, resolve any issues that are going on in Atlanta, because I think this team could definitely use some revitalization. So let me know in the comment section down below. All right, let's get on to some more stories here. So let's talk about just in general. I think this stream isn't going to go very long. I don't think. Obviously, my boy Brad having his baby, kind of doing his thing right now, making sure that everything's good with the wife and kids. So obviously, Pete doing the same thing as well. So salute to you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully everything is going well out here. Like I said, it's crazy out here with this weather and this ice that seems to not be melting at this current point. So hopefully you guys are doing safe out. Hopefully you guys are safe out there, no matter where you're at. But let's go to this next segment, and that is, of course, talking about the NBA sell-off. We're about quarter way through, and the situation at hand is looking pretty dicey for some teams. Like, if we look at the NBA standings right now, there's a huge list of contenders and pretenders, and right now, you're seeing teams like the Atlanta Hawks go into the sell-off market. The Pacers could potentially be in that sell-off market depending on the situation at hand. The Raptors are in a sell-off. The Bulls are in a sell-off. The Wizards could be in that situation as well. And if we look at the West too, we're going to probably see some sell-off from the Timberwolves if something doesn't change relatively soon. We're definitely going to see some sell-off and buy from the Mavericks. Even the Warriors could be in that same situation. Thunder, not so much. I think Lakers could also be in that situation. And I think that this is a perfect segue into the segment of NBA sell-off. Like, what team is looking to sell off their players? And one thing that we could be looking at, and it's the team we just talked about, is the Atlanta Hawks with John Collins. So let us read really quick of what this article goes on to say. The Atlanta Hawks have been shopping John Collins for a while now. I mean, it's a year after year occurrence. He never goes, but I could definitely see them trying to trade him right now. It seems inevitable that John Collins and the Hawks will eventually part ways, but the team is moving slowly in trade talks at the moment. The Brooklyn Nets, Pacers, Utah Jazz, and Wizards are all known to have interest in acquiring Collins. The Jazz have often been linked to Collins since the offseason, while the Pacers have been mentioned as a strong candidate in recent weeks. John Collins was nearly traded to Sacramento this past offseason in a deal that would have sent Harrison Barnes to Atlanta. That trade fell apart, and it is unknown if Sacramento is still interested in the power forward. If I'm the Kings, I think the Kings right now are currently in 6th or 7th, if I'm not mistaken. 6th place. I'm looking to just keep things the way they are. Steady the ship as the Kings. Like, you don't want to change anything. Your team is doing successful. There's no reason to change it. But teams like the Jazz, who, obviously had that really hot start, then cooled off a little bit. And then, of course, you have the Wizards who are in this, what word am I looking for? Purgatory. There you go. Purgatory. Like, they continuously be in this purgatory of they're not really good, but they're not really bad. And so they're kind of deciding what they want to do as an organization. And then, of course, you have the Indiana Pacers, who, again, are in that same boat. Like, they were supposed to be bad, but Halliburton has carried this team. And, salute to my guy Halliburton, one of the best point guards out there. I think he's one of the best out there. Like, when I think about point guards in this league, he's definitely up there, and one of the guys that I was rooting for in that draft class, and I'm glad to see that he's absolutely balling. And I think the Kings made a huge mistake, in my opinion, but this is not a story about Tyrese Halliburton. The Brooklyn Nets, I think, could be another team interested. They might need another piece, especially since we don't really know about Ben Simmons, like what offense he can provide for you. But let's talk about the situation at hand when it comes to John Collins. It's looking pretty bad for the Atlanta Hawks right now. And we've talked about that in the previous segment and even just a little bit ago with Trae Young. Like, the Hawks have kind of lost the identity of who they are as a team. When John Collins and Trae Young were balling out together, when everything was going well, it seemed like the Hawks had a culture. They had an identity. They were going to be the villains of the NBA. But ultimately, these villains are looking very cartoonish right now. Like, these Atlanta Hawks are not the same Hawks that were there a year ago and the year before that. Again, they were one of my preseason top 5 teams, and they have continuously disappointed because of selfish play from everybody. And it's kind of bled into the style of play. It's even just having a guy like Trae Young go against Nate McMillan, a very successful and also beloved coach in the NBA. And the fact that you're going after a guy like that, Trae Young, is a little disappointing because, again, I defended you with the Lloyd Pierce stuff, but if you do this to another coach, I mean, this is starting to look a little more like it's on you than it's on the coaches. And so to me, I think if it continues to go down this trend, I think Lloyd Pierce will be vindicated in the way that things played out, and he probably would be pissed, and I would be as well, because you should be playing a lot better than the way you are. But again, we'll see what happens in this sort of situation. But, going back to John Collins, they really need to start looking at what moves they can make. I think John Collins should probably have a fresh start. I think the Atlanta Hawks has, since last year, since they were trying to trade him last season, obviously there was almost trade that went through. I would probably just look at, moving to a different organization, moving to a different city, and restarting and starting off fresh. Because I think John Collins can provide some good things. But I never thought that he was worth the 120. I thought he was probably worth the 100, maybe 110. The problem with the 120 is that basically it means that, hey, you are the second option on the team. And that's the problem. The way that the NBA is structured, again, I have my personal opinions on the way that the NBA should be structured. But he's a guy that I think should be like worth 100, 110. And a very good like third to fourth option on a team. I think that's kind of where these NBA organizations should be looking at a guy like John Collins at. But that's just not the case at this current point. And so I think that the Atlanta Hawks, again, John Collins should get a fresh start. And where that fresh start should be might be Utah. Maybe it's the Pacers. I just think somewhere where he can really flourish and be the next guy would be awesome. Like if I'm the Hawks, I may look at the Pacers and see if I can get that Lakers deal. Get a guy in John Collins, in Buddy Hield. Maybe get a guy in, trying to think who else they could get. Miles Turner. Maybe someone else. But I think that they should definitely look to see where they can improve. Another team I think is the Jazz. I think the Jazz would be, I think a lot of people have their complaints about Utah at this current point, and I don't blame them to some extent about some of the things. But I think Utah could be a good place for him. I think that that's an organization that, again, with Will Hardy as the head coach, I definitely could see them really developing him and really working him into the rotation. I think Hardy will do a great job of utilizing his strengths and kind of hiding the areas of improvement that I think he can make. Again, if he was a more consistent shooter, I think John Collins would be an absolute steal. I think he'd be someone that you could definitely want. I think if he was a corner shooter, like a corner 3 specialist, I think that he would definitely be a guy that you could see really succeed in that role. Like, I'm really about John Collins as a player if he can develop that 3-point shot, especially in the corner. But we'll see what happens, man. Again, this is going to be a very interesting situation to monitor. The Hawks are kind of in the sell-off mode right now. And the question is, what team will pull the trigger? Because right now, for the Atlanta Hawks, they need to start making moves quick and fast if they want to continue to keep the seed or even move up the seed to 5th place or even 4th place. Again, their separation between 4th and 9th is not very far. Even 4th through 10 is not very far. And so they need to figure out that ASAP. Again, I think... Hey, what's up, Justin? How you doing, man? We're actually going to talk about your team next. So I'm glad you tuned in at this current point. Man, can't get this cough to go away. But the Hawks, they need to start making moves quick and fast. So let's see what happens there. Justin, since you just came in, let's move on to your team. The Chicago Bulls, currently 13-18 on the season, and the rumors are coming in, and that is, of course, that DeMar DeRozan could be considering requesting a trade from the team, according to Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report. Chicago has already been dealing with superstar Zach LaVine, ever-growing disconnect with the team, and a trade request from DeRozan would potentially crippling blow to the team's roster. A report from the Athletic this week is that DeRozan and Levine have not had several one-on-one meetings to attempt to solve the stylistic tension that has arose between the duo. DeRozan is apparently not the only player that's been in tension with Levine, and the Bulls players are reportedly had a strong exchange of words during halftime. We obviously talked and covered that story last week, with multiple teammates directing the frustration at. Following the game, head coach Billy Donovan referred to the confrontation as healthy and said the players are trying to hold each other accountable. On top of this, perhaps and more importantly, Chicago has underperformed this season. And again, there's a lot of reasons why I think this team has underperformed. I think one of them, of course, being Lonzo Ball. Obviously hurt again. We don't know when he's going to be back. He might even be out this season again. And again, I'm disappointed in that fact because I know what type of talent Lonzo can be for this team. And with him last year, this team was so much better. And the fact that they've kind of stayed at that level and they've kind of currently fallen is a little bit disappointing in my opinion. But kind of moving on to the clear situation at hand. What team could use DeRozan besides the LA Lakers? I mean, we keep making the joke that the LA Lakers could use him, but let's really look at this and see if there's any trades that the Bulls can do to get themselves a player that could play around Zach LaVine. I think the Wizards might be a team that you should look at because I feel like they have a ton of pieces that you could say, well, let's see if we can trade for him. Maybe one of those situations. 1 second. Sorry about that. Heard a little ice rumblings, and you never know these days. I think that the Wizards could be an option. I think that that's a team that you could definitely look at and say, they have Bradley Beal, they have Kyle Kuzma. Like, could those guys and those players be players that could fit around Zach LaVine? At the end of the day, let's see, Justin, you said at the end of the day, their three best players are the worst defensive players. Hard to win that way. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I just think there obviously needs to be some defensive guys. Like OG Anunoby would be someone that if I'm the Bulls, I'm looking at. I think that could be definitely a good player to get. If maybe you might want to get Tyler Hero. Actually, no, Tyler Hero is not really good defensively. It's tough to look at and see what players you would want. Again, I think the top 4 or 5 teams are set where they're at. I don't think they're going to make any moves moving forward. The Heat, again, they could look to make moves. They might be someone to be interested. Maybe get Bam Adebayo, trade Vucevic, and do a lot of different things. Other teams, the Orlando Magic, I know they want a first pick for Bol Bol or Mo Bamba. That could be an interesting situation to look at. That could be something that the Bulls could do to maybe trade back Vucevic. Hey, have him back. Hornets, don't really see anything there. Pistons don't really see anything there. The West could be a very interesting situation because if the Timberwolves continue to falter and do the things that they have currently not done to keep themselves up there, that could be a team that you could definitely see that might look at and say, hey, maybe we'll trade one of our pieces away just to stay afloat. I think the Jazz could be huge sellers in this offseason. Guys like Jordan Clarkson, I know he's going to have a contract extension with them, but that could be a player that you could potentially get. Not saying that you would trade DeRozan for him. The Blazers, you might try to look there. Trying to think if there's the Spurs, and I think, could you get Vassell? I don't know if they could get Vassell, but could you get Johnson? That might be someone to look at. The Thunder, they might look to sell one of their guys. Again, I think it's tough for the Bulls to figure out what they're going to do. Again, their best bet is to see the Raptors and see if they're willing to give up anything. Because I think the Raptors have some really solid defensive guys that the Bulls could use. I could definitely see them trying to go for OG or even Pascal Siakam. Just someone that could really play defense and also play a little bit more of that moving the ball type of player. Because I think that's what they're missing right now. The Bulls are. I just think they're missing someone that really can move the ball, get it going. Like a guy like Lonzo. Again, I keep going back to Lonzo. I know I'm a Lonzo fanboy, but he could be such a good asset for somebody, and that's the disappointing part. For me personally, it's just see Lonzo not being able to play this season. But you could look at it and see, the Raptors are, they're looking for something. What could they get? That'd be another, again, interesting situation to monitor. The Wizards, again, they could be selling off as well. But let us know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of this Chicago Bulls team, and seeing what players they could potentially trade and what players they could potentially have. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments section down below. And let's kind of move on to the let's go to the Raptors. I think the Raptors would be a very interesting roster to look at. Again, I know they love their boy Fred VanVleet. That might be someone to look at as trading. Otto Porter, I mean, if you need a shooter, I guess. OG, again, 25 years old, 6'7". To me, that's someone that I would probably potentially look at. Justin, you said I could see them making a trade, but then again, I don't know, because they just came out of a rebuild, and this is Acme's first go at it. And for the team, and for them to admit that they were wrong by blowing up their rosters, I don't know. I mean, the disappointing part is, Justin, is that your team has never been healthy consistently to make like a full-fledged run. Like, we remember Caruso got hurt last season and kind of faltered, everything kind of fell apart. Also, same thing with Lonzo Ball, got hurt last season and fell apart. Like, I think the Chicago Bulls team with Caruso, with Lonzo, and their whole team kind of healthy is a lot better than what they've shown. Like, this team is definitely I believe, a sixth place team with those guys healthy, and like along with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan playing. I understand that those two guys have stylistic clashes, but I don't know if that's an ego thing. Like, maybe they just have to drop the ego a little bit and see, like, oh, maybe I got to be a little bit more of a passer. Maybe I got to do a little bit more of this stuff. But we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see what goes on there. But kind of moving on to the Raptors. Scotty Barnes has been very disappointing. Kind of fell off a little bit, so I'm hoping that he kind of can step up. Pascal playing better. Someone that I think that they should look to trade and see if they can get assets for. Because again, is this team going to win a championship? Is this team going to contend in the playoffs? Of course, with Nick Nurse, you're always going to contend. You're always going to be in the playoffs. But I don't see them ever winning a championship again without a Kawhi Leonard type of star player. And in order for them to do that, they would have to trade some of the pieces they got. Obviously, guys like OG, guys like Fred VanVleet, who has a really big contract. Scotty Barnes, rookie of the year. Pascal Siakam, big contract. I mean, those are some guys that you need to trade away to become better. But I just don't see that happening relatively soon, and that is the concern if you are, if you're the Raptors, is that you need to start making moves and making moves fast. Because I don't think that the Raptors are going to go anywhere this season. Again, I know this draft class is loaded. I know there's some great players, but that's the top 10. Like, you need to make sure that if this team is going to be bad so you can be in the top 10. Don't be bad so you can be in the top 15, even top 20 as you get a play-in game or make it to the playoffs. Like, be bad enough to where you don't have to deal with the chance of you not getting a star player. That is my advice. That's what I would say if I'm advising. Again, I'm just a dude on the internet just saying whatever, right? But I do think that they should start looking at that. And in my opinion, and obviously again, just a dude on the internet, not really too much, but they really need to start looking at that, in my opinion. Another team that could be looking to sell, the Wizards. I think that they should look to sell. I mean, they have a roster full of guys, and really you could get some assets for. Like, it depends on what direction they want to go, right? Do you want to get rid of Porzingis? Do you want to get rid of Kyle Kuzma? Do you want to get rid of Rui Hachimura to kind of go in a direction of we're rebuilding and we're trying to get we're trying to get a star player here. A guy like Bradley Beal, trade him. I know he's a bucket getter, but he's adding value to your team in wins and losses. And currently, right now in the standings, I believe that they are 12th. They're 12-21. I don't think they're going to be good anytime soon. It all depends on what you want to do as an organization. I just don't think the Wizards right now are currently in that boat. And kind of looking at it, I think that they should definitely look at moving some of their kind of older assets. I would say, again, you need to see what you have with Rui Hachimura. Is he a guy you're re-signing? Is he a guy that you're keeping? Or is that a guy that you're just kind of not sure what to do with? Bradley Beal, again, I think it's someone that you need to move. I think you have to get some assets for him. And it's about time, because I just think that, you can get as many buckets as you want in Washington, in the DC, in the nation's capital. But if you're just going to be that the whole time, I just don't necessarily see you being an all-star or a Hall of Famer in the near future. Like that's just the honest truth about it. So we'll see what happens there. 1 second. Okay. Sorry, just again, snowy conditions in this neighborhood. I live up on a hill. That's just no bueno. You're gonna slide down the whole time. So luckily, nothing, no big issues there. So we'll continue moving on with this story. But yeah, I think that this is gonna be a very interesting situation to monitor and look at. Again, whoops. Looks like we got a winter warning. That's never good. Let's see here. Anyway, kind of going back to the story with the Wizards. I'm not so sure about it, man. I think that this is gonna be very interesting to see what goes on here. Clearly, I think that this is gonna be concerning if you're the Wizards. Like, you need to start making moves fast and quick, and just like figuring out what your next move is as an organization. Because I just think they're stuck. Again, not bad enough to be the worst team in the NBA, but not good enough to be, a contending team or even a playoff team in the NBA in this current state. So figure out what you need to do, Wizards. It's about time you figure it out. Let's look at some more NBA standings and just kind of look at let's look at a Western Conference team, and then I think we'll call it a day. Are the Warriors a team to sell? That is the interesting question. If you are, if you're the Golden State Warriors, the GM, and maybe that's a conversation with my boys, Brad and Pete. I feel like that's a conversation for them. So let me figure out that one. I think we're gonna stream hopefully tomorrow, again. But we're gonna talk about that one as one of the bigger sell-offs. Let's go to. I just had a dreadful day running cables in. Yeah, Justin, I heard about that terrible weather in the Midwest right now. I know that the Arctic storm is it's going towards the Midwest and kind of moving up into the Northeast. I hope you were staying warm, man. Like that stuff is no joke. Like 35 degrees and with wind chill. Hopefully you don't have any ice. The problem with Seattle right now is that we don't have the technology, and we don't really invest in the infrastructure of a snowstorm. For some reason, I don't know why it snowed the last couple of years. It's about time you put some resources into that. But it's just been ice, and so everybody's been slipping. Everybody's been crashing their cars. It's not been a good day for the Seattleites. There's no like snow per se. I mean, there's still snow on the ground, but it's now ice, and that's the huge issue of why I didn't get to go to practice today. And help coach the team that I help coach. Just due to the fact that it's just too icy and slippery. Like, I'm just gonna be sliding everywhere in my car. Like, my car is definitely not built for this weather. So that's the unfortunate part about everything. But let's see here. Let's do the just to kind of end it off. Let's do the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah, let's do that. The Timberwolves right now are 16-16. You thought with the addition of Rudy Gobert that it would be a match made in heaven. It would help your team win a lot of games. That was determined to be a lie, and this team is stuck in limbo right now. Again, Rudy Gobert, aging star, 30 years old. Kyle Anderson, 29. Again, I like their role players. I like the pieces that they have. But with Karl-Anthony Towns not really stepping up in that forefront, and then Anthony Edwards kind of having I believe he's having like a little bit of a sophomore slump. I mean, let's take a look at his stats really quick. I mean, not really taking a sophomore slump in a sense, but it's just not leading to wins. Like, he can score the ball. Like, I think there's no qualms with that. It's just, can these scores lead to wins? And I just don't think the Timberwolves at this current moment have that. Like, I think they're stuck in this limbo of, we want to be NBA contenders, and we traded everything. We traded the whole farm to be NBA contenders, but at the end of the day, the Timberwolves have continuously faltered, and it's just disappointing to watch. I think this team could be a lot better. I think this team has the ability to do that. What's disappointing, in my opinion, is the fact that, they just don't have any, just no, like, role players that come off the bench that help them out. Like, they were getting something with Jaden McDaniels, but he's kind of faltered off a little bit. Obviously, I have him in fantasy basketball, and it just hasn't worked out for them. And so, if I'm the Timberwolves, I'm a little bit concerned with my team right now. I'm a little bit concerned with the organization, and yeah, it's just a very it's gonna be a very scary situation for them moving forward. I could potentially see them being huge team, a big team that is looking to sell off their assets, because right now the assets that they have is not working. They clearly are not winning championships with this team, and so I definitely could see them moving on from them. And what pieces do you get? Do you get another big? Do you get a forward? Like what? I just think they need a point guard, is what this team needs. I understand that D'Angelo Russell is a point guard, but he's a scoring guard. And in all honesty, he's a scoring guard, and they need to look to move on from him and get a point guard that knows how to like run the offense and get guys open instead of looking for their shot first. Because I just think that that's the problem right now with this Timberwolves team, is that there's no one to really steady the ship for them. It's go, 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 or shoot, now we're down by 20 because we went so fast, and and all this other stuff. And then our offense just is not clicking on all cylinders, and I think that's the issue. So I think that's kind of where I'm at right now with this team. Is I just don't know if I believe in them enough to say that this is the team that is looking to be contenders this season. I don't know. It's not looking too good. And Justin, I'll answer your question before we kind of sign out of here and say sayonara to everybody. He's been playing good, but those stats are not leading to wins. And I'm sorry, like, as much as the stats are impressive, as much as any stat line has been getting better, it's all about, do those stats lead to wins? And currently, at this current moment, for the Minnesota Timberwolves, those stats are not leading to wins, and it's been a very disappointing effort, in my opinion, from this team. So we'll see what happens. I think they're definitely going to be big sellers. I would look to see what point guards are available. Again, we look at some of these teams. I don't think anybody in the West is trading their point guards anytime soon. The East, Pacers, no, they just got Halliburton. Raptors, maybe Fred VanVleet would be a steady ship for the Timberwolves, but who knows? Who knows what is going to happen? But I think that's going to do it, guys. Please let me know what you guys think about the NBA sell-off. What teams are looking to sell off as we get to kind of the quarter and almost midway point of the season relatively soon? What teams are looking to be the biggest sellers in this NBA season? Who's going to make some moves before the trade deadline? That is what I want to know in the comment section down below. So let me know what you guys think about the moves that teams are going to make in the near future. Alrighty, everybody. That is going to do it here for The Charge. Want to thank everybody once again for tuning in, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors, and also basketball opinions. I hope you guys are staying safe out there. Again, Justin talked about it. It's icy out there. It's cold. I hope you guys are staying warm. Stay safe. Make sure that you guys don't drive if there's no necessity to drive. Stay inside if you can. I know there's people driving all over the road right now, but with the amount of ice that people can't see, with it's not being melting, it's going to be a huge problem. So let me know in the comment section down below, and even just stay safe out there, man. Anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we'll catch everybody on the next episode of the NBA Charge. Peace out, everybody. Remember to hit that like